Welcome to the intersection where life and art collide. I'm your host, the punk rock pop pop, Leigh Pierce. And on today's episode, I am super excited to have one of my all-time favorites, Rev Norb. Norb, how are you doing today?
I am doing adequately. Thank you for your concern over to my personal well-being.
Well, that is good to hear. Could you take a minute to introduce yourself for anyone who may or may not be living underneath a rock for the last 30 plus years?
Well, I certainly can't blame you if you've been living under a rock for the last 30 plus years. Be that as it may, my name is Rev Norb. I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I am what am I? Why am I here? I've been kidnapped. I'm in a basement in Beloit or somewhere at the moment.
Hey,
Actually, I'm not. I'm in Green Bay.
there's worse places to be. So, first off, congratulations on the 2026 Whammy win.
That was a stealth whammy. Like, none of us had any idea that was happening. We didn't find out until the day afterwards when somebody texted our drummer and said, "You guys won a whammy." News to us.
That was absolutely great. I saw that post on social media. I went and looked. I'm like, oh my god, watching this unfold in real time was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was
So it
up on the
worked
group
out
chat.
great.
Everybody's like, I have no idea about this. So I just popped it into the little artificial intelligence search engine thing. Did Boris the Sprinkler win a whammy last night? And they're like, well, yes, Boris the Sprinkler won a whammy for best performer rock punk or whatever the heck it was in the 2026 Whammy Awards. All right, cool. Send me my check.
Now you're gonna have to Google how many previous times you've won that you may not have known about it as well. So we'll say at least the one time winning. It could be
If
possibly
that's the worst
multiple.
skeleton in my closet that I don't know about, I think I'm doing all right on average.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good if that's what you have to worry about, that's not a bad deal. All right. So why don't you give us a little of your background? How did you first get into music?
Music in general or like punk rock in specific, or do you want me to just go through the entire you
How
want me to
about
recite
how
my
about
entire life? I can.
how did you become a musician?
How did I become a musician? I'm not sure how I became a musician, but I'm pretty sure it happened because when I was a little kid, like, okay, the Monkees were on TV in 1966 and 1967. And although I was alive, I was just like a little infant and I couldn't pay attention to that. So when I first started watching cartoons, it would have been 1968 Saturday morning cartoons. And then you had like the aftermath of the Monkees where like Don Kirshner got the boot. So he started like the Archie so he could have a cartoon band that wouldn't like cock off to him and disobey him. So when I started watching cartoons, I used to watch the Everything's Archie show, and there was the Banana Splits, and they were like both bands, although you never actually saw them practicing. They just drove around in dune buggies and jalopies and things like that and had fun. And then, of course, in 1969, Sugar Sugar by the Archies became the #1 song in America for the entire year. And this was not lost on the music industry. So then, like when I was in kindergarten and first grade, every Saturday morning TV show was kind of mostly about people who were like a band, or they would have musical instruments like Lancelot Link and the Evolution Revolution, or the Bugaloos, or I don't know, Charlie Chan and the Chan Clan. Oh, they weren't actually very good at the Amazing Chan, or whatever it is. There were like there were like zillions of bands on Saturday morning. So I think the whole thing was I thought that was just what you did. You were just in a band and then you fought crime or you were secret agents or whatever. So the great thing is you never saw them practice. You never saw anything other than them going to a crappy gig and getting in adventures. And then the Monkees were on Saturday morning too. So I think I just followed what society wanted me to do, which was to be a cartoon character in a band. So that's kind of how that happened.
Makes so much sense. I've been a fan of yours for over 30 years. And I did not know that. And that really does make sense because you are, animated is easiest way to explain you. So yeah, feeling like you should be a cartoon character in a band is you achieved it. Congratulations.
That's right. I did what society asked of me. I could do no more.
So, and how many bands roughly would you say you've been a member in over the 40 plus years you've been a musician?
Like of consequence or
Yeah.
uh one, two, three, four, five. Like 5.5, I'm going to say. I'm going to say my first band was originally called the Rat Eaters. Then we were known as Suburban Mutilation because we were very hardcore and all like that. And that was like the early half of the 80s. Then I was in a band called Depo Provera. That's for the second half of the 80s. And that was a little bit more melodic and rock and rolly and stuff like that. And then I was in Boris the Sprinkler, who's probably my best known band because we won the Whammy after all. We must be great because we've been sanctioned by society. That was the 90s. That was sort of like the 90s pop punk kind of thing. Then I went into hiatus. I was briefly in a band called Bob Dylan of the Obsoletes, which was a Bob Dylan punk rock cover band with the guys in the Obsoletes, who I would imagine you probably heard of, a fan of Yesterday's Kids, those guys. Extremely talented musicians, but we only played 3 shows and we put out 1 record, so that was kind of cool. And so that's like the half of a band. Then I was in the Onions, who were like the Onions before me. Then when I was in them, they were Rev Norb and the Onions. Now I'm not in them, so they're back to being the Onions or something like that. And that was like a band where we drank and played punk rock and poked holes on the ceiling tiles and did stuff like that. And now I'm in a band called the Smart Shoppers where I play bass because I'm too old and gross and lazy and slow to sing effectively for a punk rock band, which is why Boris the Sprinkler is still playing shows, just to contradict what I just said earlier.
Perfectly into my next question is, did you being the front man and such a well-known, I mean, to me, I don't, for my money, I don't think there's anybody better on a mic than you. I mean, it's just, you're amazing. So was there any issues with you going from the front man, the center of the show, to playing bass, taking a step back a little bit?
No, because that is what I started out doing when I was a teenager. I'm a person that has no business being in a rock and roll band. I have a dumb voice. I have, modest musical talent, but I saw the cartoons and that was what I had to do. So when I was 14 or 15, I thought I'm going to buy a bass because that's the easiest thing. You can buy a used bass at that point for like $50. I'm just going to do that and kind of beg people to let me in their band because that is like, I don't know. That's what you do when you don't have any talent. You're either a singer if you have some charisma or you play bass. And I was going to play bass because I knew I was not cut out to be a front man. And then somehow the tables turned and then somehow I wound up being a front man. And then eventually you do that for long enough. You're like, I'm kind of sick of this. I want to go back to playing bass just so I have a valuable job skill to take it to the next life.
That's awesome. Well, you've been good on a mic. I mean, it's even got didn't you do a little stint with the roller derby for a while?
I was a longtime roller derby announcer with the Foxes, who are now Fox Cities Roller Derby. I did that for like years and years and years and years, and I did tournaments and they did all kinds of stuff. That was a lot of fun. I did that when I didn't really have time to be in a band, and now I'm in 2 bands, so I don't really have time to announce roller derby, which is too bad because I love announcing roller derby just because it's cool to be a sports announcer. You don't know that because it's never on cartoons. They never have cartoons about sports announcers, only bands and detectives.
Well, and you're so like I was saying, you're so good on a mic. You've got the great like announcer voice anyways. So I mean, you were destined to be a sports announcer, and not that you needed any help or improving, but I'm sure doing the sports announcing for the roller derby only just honed your skills on the mic for being a front man.
I'm not sure. I think it was the being the front man hones the skills for doing the roller derby announcing, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're a synergy or if they work at cross purposes.
All right. So am lucky enough to have a copy, one of my favorite books, because I am a huge, huge fan of footnotes.
Well,
So
you're in luck. There's 986 footnotes.
it is, and he's not joking. If you notice, it's literally called the annotated Boris, and it is because it's, I'd say, probably 60 to 70% footnotes, which is awesome. And like I said, I've been a fan for over 30 years. I believe the first punk show I ever went to was you guys at the Alumni House in Beloit.
I think
So
I
I
recall. Was that with the parasites and Smoker
no,
Smoke?
it wasn't the one. It wasn't the one with the parasites. It was a different show, but I remember the parasite show too. But so like I've always been a huge fan of your music. It's always meant a lot to me because it was my first introduction to at least local bands and stuff like that. And so it's absolutely awesome. And like, well, I was originally from Edgerton back then, so Beloit was the closest to come to shows. So I'll be down here for shows, and now I'm living just on the other side of Beloit, right up from the Alumni House, and I've got posters in my studio of the shows I used to go and watch you play at. So it's been a really cool full circle. So getting to sit here and talk with you today. First off, I want to say thank you and I appreciate you.
Bless your heart. I appreciate you too, consumer. Man of the media. Teller of truths. Flatterer of weirdos.
Oh, that is my job. And but so with reading this book, there's so much fun stuff because like all the different albums and the EPs going through talk about the stuff, but learned a lot about you and your writing process, which a lot of it over the years sounds like was involved while you were walking places.
That's a good way to get in, inspired, I found. You take a walk and all of a sudden you're like, I've got a song. And I don't know, I think that's kind of how it works.
I see. I'm the same way. So I read that. I thought that was it was awesome because I apparently narrate everything that's going on around me like a freaking Disney princess, and I don't even realize it. So apparently, drives my family nuts. But I'm the same way when I'm out walking and doing stuff. I'll just start thinking about stuff, and next thing I know, I've got a silly song for my grandson and stuff like that. So my question though is, what percentage of Boris songs do you think were written on the way to Taco Bell?
Wow, that is a darn excellent question, and I'd hate to give you faulty statistics, so I'm just going to say 20% because that's a reasonable number and nobody's going to question it.
That is awesome. Oh, and another thing, I am completely not music related, but I am a huge fan of mid-century modern, especially architecture. You, if I'm not mistaken, do you still have the Lustron home or
I'm in
no?
the restaurant home as we speak.
Oh
Metal,
my
metal
God,
ceiling, metal ceiling.
that's awesome. Okay, so my question is, I always wondered with the insulation in that when you get a hard rain, what is it? Is it worse than a normal house or no?
It is completely silent. You can only hear it against the windows. You can't hear it against the roof, which shocked me when I bought this house. Because for those that don't know, a Lestron home was a prefabricated home. It was built in a refurbished airplane hangar in Columbus, Ohio in 1948 and 1949. It's made out of porcelainized steel. It was sort of marketed as a housing crisis for returning GIs from World War II, and they couldn't make them anywhere near as quickly as they thought they could make them. So the financial model broke down and blah, 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 blah. But it's all metal. Roof's metal, doors are metal, walls are metal, built-in shelves are metal. Weird shelf here, that's all metal, metal ceiling right there. It's all metal. So you would think, like, I thought it's going to sound like freaking, buckshot on the roof the first time it rained, and you can't hear it at all.
That is absolutely awesome because there's one in Janesville that I always pass, and I always and it's the blue one because they only came in 3 colors, I think.
5 colors.
Eh,
There was
5 colors?
Dove gray, the seafoam blue, I don't know, whatever it was called, surf blue, something pink, goldenrod, and like mint green or something like that.
That is so cool. Yeah, like I said, me and my wife, everything in our house, well, even our house is a 1951. So it's got all the original, like the build outs and everything like that. So all the colors are like what you see in the wall back here. It's all robin egg blue and pink and mint green. We're like doing all of it. So when I read that you're in one of the Lestron homes, I'm like, I have got to ask him about that. That is super cool. Because we always wondered what it sounds like with rain or hail. That's hilarious that it's actually better than a normal house.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? Shit. Here's a sign a friend gave me: Lustron home of perfection. I would not say that my Lustron home is a Lustron home of perfection, but who am I to turn down a gift from a friend?
That is super, super cool. I like that. Oh. So, tell us a bit about the newest band that you got going on, the Smart Shoppers.
Well, the Smart Shoppers were a band that was started by my former next door neighbor. I play bass, as I believe we've encountered that topic previously. My next door neighbor, Joe, who's the singer, would text me like song lyrics in the middle of the night. Like, I don't know why. He just, it'd be like 3 a.m. and he'd be up for whatever reason and send me these goofy song lyrics. And he was in a band previously called The Last Sons of Krypton. He was the second singer and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I'm like, well, that's cool. My weird neighbor is sending me song lyrics. Hooray, great, good job. Thumbs up icon. Keep up the good work. And he sort of keeps sending me these lyrics. And I don't know why he's sending me these lyrics, but he is, because he's up at 3 in the morning and he feels like sending his neighbor lyrics, whatever. And then one day he starts sending me like tapes of recordings of these songs with, I don't know what's going on. He's suddenly, it went from lyrics to, recordings without a bass. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is pretty gosh darn good, actually. I'm thinking maybe I can play my cards right. I can be the bass player for this band. So, it kind of, he called me up or he texted me. I don't remember what it was. He's like, we got a gig booked and we don't have a bass player. Can you sit in on bass for the first show? I'm like, yes, I can. And they opened the door and there I was. Like that Seinfeld episode, I'm here for you, just becomes I'm here. So there we are. There we have it. Marriage of convenience.
You did you come up with a name?
No, I believe the name was come up with, Dave Eck from runs the record, Waxy Poodle? He came up
Yeah.
with it for some reason.
That's fine because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh well, that's fitting, especially with like the Kmart tie-in, because I instantly thought of the 7-inch with Drugs and Masturbation with the Pacific Northwest Novelty Mix when you have like the Attention Kmart Shoppers intro. So
Oh,
I was like, oh, that perfectly on brand.
oh, I never really thought about that. But what I thought about is I noticed, I looked at the Kmart logo and I noticed that the word Kmart and the word smart are the same except for one letter. So I just changed the K to an S, and then I took Shopko and I made it Shoppers. So it's like a Kmart logo and a Shopko logo.
That's awesome. Well, I'm like, I own a marketing agency. I'm a marketing guy, so I love the play on, and of course, I'm Gen X, so I love freaking nostalgia stuff like that. Speaking of, do you know that Kmart, Shopko, Target, and Walmart all started the same year within a couple months of each other? They
I
all
was
had their very
unaware of that.
first
I didn't
store.
know that the Munsters and the Addams Family started the same week on TV.
Well, that I did not know. So thank you. Look at that. We're both learning.
It's
Never too old to
a
learn,
free
people.
exchange of ideas is critical to a functioning democracy.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And if you don't keep learning, you become a dusty old fossil that nobody wants to talk to. And who wants to do that?
Right. Look at me. I'm a dusty old fossil that people do want to talk to. One hand washes the other.
Same, exactly the same. So we're talking about the 1/7 inch. What and well, in the book, which I love because it's talking about the builds for each one. I used to work for a record label, so like I love seeing you talking about the like what went wrong with pressings and stuff like that. What was your because you did a lot of the graphic design and stuff for them. So what was your not just Boris, but what has been your favorite project putting it together? As far as like the actual bill, whether it was the recording process or doing the graphics and the way the vinyl looked, what's been your favorite so far?
Well, I always sort of liked how Suck came out. The album Suck, Boris's fourth album, just because that's the one that I don't think we could have made that one any better. But as far as being an interesting project, that was a lot of work as far as packaging or something goes that I think turned out well. Have you heard the Bits of Boris compilation album?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, well, that's the album. It's on Beer City Records. It came out a few years ago. It's like all the miscellaneous orphan tracks from B-sides, 45s, and things like that. Because that 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 stretched from like 5, 6 different lineups of Boris. So I had to figure out something to do with the cover because we're always on the cover doing our goofy thing or whatever the heck, and then I couldn't do that. So what I did was I took like all of our records and I scanned them all into the computer, and then I went to Photoshop. And are you familiar with the crop tool in Photoshop? Okay, well, you can set it to crop to a certain size. So I set everything to crop to 1 inch. So I made all these 1 inch crops of all our photos, tops of faces and bottoms of faces, and then I re-scrambled them up all in crazy zany looking things. And it was really a labor of love, but for whatever reason, just as far as like solving a graphic problem, I'm sort of proud of that because it took a lot of time and it's weird.
That sounds awesome. I definitely need to look into that because I love packaging. I'm glad that people are starting to turn back to physical media. Even I mean, cassettes are coming back. The new generation thinks CDs are retro. Holy shit, are we old? And I mean, vinyl's obviously been back, but I mean DVDs. Even people are doing VHS again, and I love seeing that they're taking time on the packaging as well. I don't know how many DVDs and stuff I bought back in the day, and just because the packaging was cool. I knew the movie sucked, but I like art, whether it's the film itself or the packaging it came in. It still takes a lot of time putting that stuff together. So that's why I always enjoyed all your stuff. How I got a whole stack of them here. We got oh, and by the way, I this is one of my favorites, honestly, is Russian Robot because I have an unhealthy fascination with the song Got the Time. So I feel like I need to collect all versions of it on vinyl. So yours is one of my favorites, of course.
It's in the top 3 I can think of, with Anthrax and Joe Jackson, and I can't think of another version. So there you go.
I would say it's top 2, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
You're far too kind. Did you notice? And this is in the book, and I'm going to point it out. During that little break thing, I try to spell "This is not an Anthrax song," but I wind up goofing it up, and it's just "This is not Anthrax song" or something like that.
I would never have noticed it if you wouldn't have wrote about it in the book, because I heard about it in the book in the first, and I pulled the record out. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how many times I've heard that, and I never realized you forgot the A. I
Yeah,
never noticed that.
I didn't do the ANTHRAX. It was just like once I got AN, it just went right into Anthrax without the and. So mea culpa, Anthrax, mea culpa, Joe Jackson.
Oh, that cracked me up. I love that. Come on, the fact you left it in. Did you realize you did it wrong before, like when it was too late, or you're like, that's funny, leave it.
I'm not exactly sure how that transpired, but I'm thinking that one like surprised me when I was like, counting on my fingers. Wait a minute, but then it was probably too late to do anything. A lot of times it's just funny if you leave the mistakes in because, well, somebody will talk to you in a podcast about them 30 years later. It's great.
Oh, exactly. I mean, what else would we be doing right now if you wouldn't have forgotten that A? I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'd be watching Magilla Gorilla with the sound up. That's what'd be happening.
And so would I if I knew what channel it was on.
BTV Tunes.
Ah, gotcha. So, all right, I've got a question for you. You've done some great covers. Of course, I mean, that's one thing I loved about the 90s punk scene was the split 7 inches where you do, the bands they do their own track and then they do a cover of the other band that was on the flip side, and that was always fun because it was a great way. Well, it was just I love covers. It's always cool to hear a song you already like by another artist that you like as well. So all the covers you've done, whether it was like on a split like that or just fun covers you've done, what was the favorite one that you've done so far with any band?
The favorite cover that we did?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. I kind of like, what do I like? I'm not sure. I kind of like that Meatmen thing where we did each other's songs and stuff.
Oh, yes. True.
And
With
I
True
think
Grit,
the
I've got
weirdest one was the one with the Parasites where we were the Borisites and Nikki the Sprinkler and we switched singers and we did each other's
Yeah.
songs. And that was really stupid. But as far as taking the ridiculous 90s split 7-inch thing to its logical termination, I think that one kind of put the nail in the coffin for the whole project.
Yeah, because you can't go back to just doing covers once you basically make 2 entire new bands and brands in order to drop a 7-inch. You can't really go back to just doing a
That's right.
split after that.
Forward.
Yeah, so if anyone is sad about, missing the old split 7s, it was Norb who killed them. So just remember that.
I do what I
So,
can.
if you could cover any song that you haven't done, if you could cover any song, what song would you cover?
I always wanted to cover, this will make no sense at all, I'm So Free by Lou Reed off the Transformer album. Because every single time I've ever been in New York, I always start singing that, then I went down to Times Square, and ever since I've been hanging around there. I don't know why. I've always wanted to cover that song. It's never been appropriate because doesn't fit any of my bands. But for whatever reason, I just want to sing that song. Karaoke will be fine with I'm So Free. I mean, let me disgrace myself once before I die with I'm So Free by Lou Reed.
Well, I'll make sure I cut this section into a clip to put on social media, so we'll at least have that part for you.
My plea will go out to the broadest audience possible. If I could cover one entire album, I would cover the Velvet Underground's White Light, White Heat album with my first band, Suburban Mutilation, because we're the only band dumb and bad sounding enough to do that record justice.
That's very well said, and that's a very narrow targeted comment too. So the people that get that one, I can't wait. They're gonna love it. All right, another covers question for you. If you could get a band to cover one of your songs, like who would you want to cover what song?
I want the Lemon Twigs to do I Don't Really Want to Walk to Taco Bell Without You. That will gain us acceptance in the eyes of modern society.
All right, you heard it
Maybe
here.
Shazam. Maybe Icky Shazam. I don't know. Something like that.
That I like that. That is definitely a good answer. So,
No, maybe you
you
could get
better
like
you
the Furchers or the early Beatles to cover I Don't Really Want to Walk. They're the Hollies. I Don't Really Want to Walk to Taco Bell Without You. That would turn some heads.
that, but just a few, just a few. So you've been in the music industry and the scene for a long time. What has been one of your favorite moments, whether it was as an artist or as a fan, something that always sticks out, that's one of those reasons that you keep doing what you're doing and it's just something you always think about and look back on?
Honestly, I hate to delve into such recent history, but in 2022, we did the Boris the Sprinkler Neo Spectacular 30-year Extrava, whatever the heck. We did a 30-year anniversary show, and we played like a long time. We played like the longest set we ever played, and there was like there were a lot of like obstacles that we had to overcome getting to that show because of various reasons that we don't need to go into now. And then we played, and then it was really good because we thought we might we can't be bad at our 30-year anniversary show because the people have come to see us. And I'm always sort of worried because, you're old and you don't really practice and your bandmates are scattered around. So you can kind of pull off a show if you're like the opening act or you're like, you're opening for Mudhoney or something like that. You can do that because the weight isn't on you. But if you're going to headline this big thing, that's going to be this big deal and everybody's going to go hoo-ha, then you got to be good. I hate having to be good. I don't mind being good, but if I have to be good, the pressure's really on. And it's one of those things where it all came together. We played for like an hour and 10 minutes straight, and it was all wonderful. The crowd was screaming, and Tom Smith gets up on stage. It's like, make the fucking noise, and the crowd's going, ah! And then I knew that everything was cool. I don't know. It just made me really happy.
That's really awesome. I saw clips from that. I wish I would have been there, but that's awesome. I'm glad that even all the years you've done it, you never soured on it. You're still out there having fun. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I get why you wanted to go back to or take a step back and doing bass a little bit because I mean, you were an absolute wild man as a front man.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
what
mean, punk rock is one of those things where you're not thinking, okay, how am I going to do this 10 years from now? How will I be able to, keep this lucrative career in punk rock, winning all these lucrative whammies and all the gigantic oversized publisher clearinghouse checks that you get with them? You're not really thinking about what you're going to do in the future. You think this is punk rock is like a right now music. You're not thinking about how am I going to replicate the stage show, 30 years later when I'm old and decrepit and I'm 60 years old, which I am. You're just, you just kind of go for it. And I forgot what the hell the question was, actually. That's a senior moment for you. Where are we going with this?
with taking a step back
Oh, yeah.
and going from
Yeah, I mean, if your band is, or if your frontman persona is somehow predicated on like, out energying everybody else, you're not going to pull that off at some point. I'm not going to out energy, a lot of people at this point in time. It's just not going to happen. I am not going to jump like I used to. I might jump once and then I'm like, please don't let me blow out my knee and have to get an artificial knee and be in a wheelchair for 6 months. I mean, you jump on the drum riser and you're like, oh, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I'm jumping on the drum riser. Oh my gosh, I'm jumping off the drum riser. Pray for me. So, you're just not going to be able to deliver like that because that's not how the body works. So if you play bass, you do whatever you want, If you feel like corning it up and jumping around, you can do that. If you feel like just sitting back down like Freddie Boom Boom Washington and going boom, 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 you can do that too. The pressure's kind of off. So I was sort of looking for Look at that is the punk rock vocalist retirement plan, playing bass, I think.
I always thought it was doing acoustic albums.
Okay, I'm never going to be that old.
There's gonna be no capo in your future? Come on.
Have you ever heard me play acoustic guitar? No, and you're not going to. Wait a minute.
Oh no. Oh no.
I do have a cool one though. I'm not really gonna. Hang on. This is the chords for the Kinks. This is the chords for two measures of the Kinks Shangri-La. Now I gotta move my fingers. Whoops, that's not right. That's a D major seventh, a D, and a D7. That's it. That's all you get. That is my one and only acoustic guitar performance ever. I hope.
Oh, I am gonna cherish that forever and ever. I've had some great moments on this show being serenaded by people that may have just jumped to the top of the list. So thank you. Thank you, Reverend Norb.
I live to serve.
So when you do get those bursts of energy, you do still do like a occasional show other than with Smart Shoppers. But it's not like you're just sitting still either, though. But when you do get that front man creeping back in, do you still just do a Boris show, or what do you do to get that energy out nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, Boris we do a few shows a year, so whatever. If there's any any itch in my system, that gets the itch out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I suppose does it still take as long to recover after a show when you're playing bass as compared to when you were vocalist?
No, I mean, when I used to do those shows, I'd be jumping all the time. The next morning, it would feel like somebody karate chopped me in my thighs. Like it would just be just aches right in the middle of my legs, and you're sweating and you're just exhausted, and you're trudging to Taco Bell so you can get your strength back for the next show or whatever the heck. Play bass, yeah, whatever. Get a little callus on your fingertip, maybe.
There's nothing that makes you feel your age more than when you're not a drinker and you wake up just from staying up too late and you feel like you were out drinking all night long.
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, I woke up sometimes you wake up in the morning and it's just like, oh my God, really get out of bed and you feel like crap and your mouth is dry and I might as well be hitting the bottle and lying on the floor or something.
Yeah, I've been sober going on 10 years now, and we went down to Reggie's just a couple weeks ago because a couple of my clients were headlining, and got home the next day. I got about 3 hours of sleep. I felt like death. I'm like, I don't know how I did that back in the day by adding alcohol, because like I was beat up for about 3 days after that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, like, we would go to Chicago for shows in, the middle of the week. And a lot of times in the 90s, I wasn't drinking, but I mean, you, when we did like this in, I think it was 1999, we were on Go-Kart Records and we were on, that was the Buzzcocks label for 1 year. We were big heroes of mine when I was, 14 or whatever. And we did like this tour, this leg of their Go-Kart Across America tour, which was the Buzzcocks and the Lunatics and Down by Law. And we did a lot of the Midwestern dates. And I would commute back after the shows, like in wherever they were in Chicago or whatever. And I'd come back and I would work the next day and I'd get up and I'd go to the next leg of the tour. So I would like commute to a tour. And now I'm like, I couldn't even do that as a spectator now. Like I couldn't go to Chicago on a Wednesday night and drive back and go to work and go to Minneapolis on Thursday or whatever the hell. I mean, holy smokes, man. That's the power of youth, I tell you.
Yeah, I know. That was the thing. And going to Reggie's for the night, it wasn't even the go up and down the stairs a dozen times. It was the 6 hours in the car that killed me. I'm like, good Lord.
What a drag it is getting old. Somebody should write a song to that effect.
Yeah, they should. But the way I look at it, it's better than the other option. So, and I'm only 50. I'm just barely middle aged. So I still got 50
the
more
fun
years.
is yet to come, son.
Oh, the first 50 are the hardest. The next 50 are going to be just gravy. I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah, you're on the shady side of the hill.
Absolutely.
People say it's all downhill from here, but think about it. Downhill is good if you're riding a bike.
Oh, exactly. It's way easier. Oh, all right. So what have you got coming up? This will probably be coming out here around June. What do you got coming up this summer?
Well, if you're madly in love with me and the concept of my bands, both the Smart Shoppers and Boris the Sprinkler are playing at a benefit show Saturday, June 13th at Badger State Brewing in Green Bay. for Dan Dillon, who was the singer of the Miners, who were the first punk band I ever saw, one of Green Bay's first punk bands. He had a stroke and he was at ICU for like a long time and blah, 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 money, money, money. So Boris are playing, the Smart Choppers are playing, Rebel Waltz from the Valley are playing, and Green Bay's own Fun with Adams, who are possibly the band that I've seen the most times in my life and the most Green Bay band of all time are going to be headlined. So that's the big shoe. That's what's happening.
That's cool. I'll make sure this gets out before then, and I'll put up links to the event. It's a good event for a good cause. Make sure people get out there as much as we can.
Bless you, my son.
Yes, absolutely. So I've got a few more quick questions here. All right. So, there was always rumor. I don't know if you can confirm or not that the NoFX song "Punk Guy" was about you.
I'm going to say no. It is not about me. The only reason it's got the word straight out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, because it rhymes with Charles Bronson. Got a face like Charles Bronson. Do I have a face like Charles Bronson? Is this a Bronson-esque face? This is not a Charles Bronson-esque face. Face like Charles Bronson, straight out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, yes, I'm straight and I'm out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, but I don't think that's what he was getting at. I think it's been publicly denied by Fat Mike. But at this point in time, it works to my benefit to have people think that it is about me. So why, yes, that song is completely about me. No, it's not. It really isn't. But believe what you will.
Or,
I'm not here to tell anybody what to think. Gosh darn it.
I've I've always known the answer, but I wanted to ask you that for over 30 years. So I finally had the opportunity, so I had to. My apologies.
All part of life's rich tapestry.
Oh, so this many years later, are you still as big of a fan of Taco Bell?
I am still a big fan of Taco Bell. I eat there probably a couple times a week. You get old enough, you got to kind of watch your sodium a little bit. So I don't do it every day like I used to. I used to eat at Taco Bell like 5 or 6 times. Plus, they tore down the mall that had the Taco Bell within walking distance of my house. So Taco Bell is no longer within walking distance of my house. So that kind of, if you got to get in your car to get Taco Bell, that's a little bit different. That's not the same thing as if can I just walk downtown, grab some Taco Bell, eat it there, walk back home. Because then you got your walk and you got your Taco Bell. Now I got to take a walk. I got to come back. I got to get in the car. I got to go to Taco Bell. That's not as cool. So I don't go to Taco Bell as much as I used to, but I am a fan of numerous menu items these days.
Is your favorite menu item?
I don't know what my favorite menu item is, but if I get the rewards, because I'm on the app, I always get the cheesy gordita crunch because that one costs the most. But also if you get the loaded beefy potato griller and you get beans instead of beef, that's real good. The cheesy bean and rice burrito is your best Taco Bell value option. I always loved the bean. My favorite item used to be the bean burrito minus onions, but those are getting more expensive than they're actually worth. So you might as well just get the cheesy bean and rice burrito because it's cheaper and it's almost as good. And actually, my favorite menu item is the Diablo sauce packets.
All right, that is a great answer. So, Norm, again, like I said, I wanted to say thank you for coming on. I've been a fan for over 30 years. It all started just right up the road from where I'm sitting right now. I've got the flyers on the wall here, reprints, because it was the one thing that I lost when I moved. But like I said, I want to say thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Any last minute words and words of advice for the youth of today?
Don't listen to anything that I or anybody else says, or at least, yes. And number 2, I've decided I kind of look like Tommy Ramone like this.
I would absolutely have to agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. Everyone, please say thank you to Rev Norb. He is much appreciated. And thank you for watching the show or listening. Please like, subscribe, share. Give me some feedback. I really want to know how I'm doing. And most of all, as always, please have fun and be nice to each other, because if you're not, there's no fucking point. I will see you next time.